quickly recapping, we did two shlokas last time, Shloka 46 and Shloka 47. So 46, just very quickly, because we did it in such great detail, basically said what it wanted to convey was that all of the spiritual injunctions that we have today is for that single goal of realization of the self. And there's a lesser goal to that, which is material success, material peace, all of that. So that particular verse said, once a person realizes the self, or for us comes closer to the self, you'll start seeing the futility of using prayers, using all of this for material gains. Because the more we go on entangling with materiality, the further we are going to go from that goal, which is the self, right? So we've understood that quite nicely through the entire verses that we've been seeing so far. A question arises, actually it did arise, then what is the point of all of this? Why are we even doing this? In the broadest sense, if you go to see, you say the entire world is an illusion, then the scripture is also part of that illusion, right? It's part of this material world, correct? And it's very beautifully explained. It says, Swapna Simhavat. Have you all ever heard this phrase before? Dream lion like a dream lion. So I'm sure you'll have had such a dream in your life at some point. If you haven't, it's a very interesting dream where you're running, and something is chasing you. And you're right at the brink and suddenly you wake up. Have you ever had that dream? I've had it several times, where I've been chased and then suddenly I wake up. So something in the dream makes you wake up, or even a great sorrow in the dream. Like I remember once I dreamt somebody very close to me died and I was in such deep sorrow and I just woke up. So these scriptures, all of what the Vedas are trying to say, works like that dream lion, where you will engage with it, you will run with it, you will be chased by it until you finally wake up. So we have to make use of the scriptures, keeping that highest ideal in mind. Yes, we can use the scriptures to fulfill our regular needs in the world. That's fine. But what Krishna has just said, drop that obsession with I have to acquire this, drop that obsession with I have to protect this. You focus on I am the self, move towards that, and all of this will be taken care of. It's a byproduct. Like, somebody comes in and asks in the yoga class, used to ask it, will I lose weight with this yoga class? That's the first thing, right? Everybody wants to lose weight. And we were taught to tell them that yoga will arrange your body energies in such a way, calm your mind in such a way that the intellect comes into play and is able to make you make the right choices as far as what should I eat, how much should I sleep, what should I do, all of that. When that happens, then weight loss is a byproduct. So if you get this connection, if you understand that, as long, we've said this again and again in the class a million times, as long as we are caught up in the world, we are going to be the bearers of all the consequences that our actions are in the world. And we are going to be at unrest. We've studied it how? In so many different ways. Entire Arjuna Vishada Yoga was about that, about our problem. But the closer and closer you come to making spiritual life your main central goal, magically, it's actually like magic. You'll see all of this is taken care of. Why? Because of the verse we studied after that, you're not obsessing over a particular result. You're not obsessing over a particular timeline. You're in the moment and you're just doing your best. And like we saw last week, the fruit of the action rests in the action itself. If that action is being clouded by 1 million worries about the past, anxieties about the future, particular outcomes, how are you going to do the right action? The problem is that we say, okay, I've done the right action, but I'm not getting the fruit in my timeline. This is when I wanted, and forget even timeline, I wanted a particular way. But that also we've seen is not possible because Gahana Karmano Gatihi. My karma, Krishna says, is impenetrable. You don't know. That fruit is going to bear a consequence. Think about it. Whatever you're doing right now is going to bear a consequence. It's going to have a fruit, right? So you may as well do it the best. But when that is going to come, is not in your hand. So how can you obsess over it? So then that brought us to verse number 47, the most important, one of the most important verses. Chanting these verses and everything is taken care of. They're very potent and powerful verses. So even if you haven't learned it by heart, please try through the week to learn this one verse. There are few verses that we should know. Okay. What did it say? Karmanyevadhikaraste, your choice is in the action and attitude only. We understood this quite clearly, right? There's this famous question that comes, a quandary between free will and destiny. What is free will and what is destiny, right? Everybody says if everything is destined, then where is our free will in this first line? Your complete free will is in the action, okay? There are three ways. Something comes in front of you to do. We saw it last week. There are three ways. You'll either do it, kartum. You'll either not do it, na kurtum. You would say, it's not my thing to do. Or you will do anyatha kart. You will do something different. Now, this something different is where your free will is. Full free will. Even when we use, some commentaries use your right is to action. Actually, you have full right over your action. Nobody can take that right away from you. Do we agree to this or no? What is stopping us from exercising our free will over there is being pulled into various things by the mind. What will happen if I do this? This has happened in the past. This will happen in the future. But in that moment, and we'll study in the next verse how we do that, you are free to do whatever you want to do. So entire free will comes in the first verse, first line, karmanyevadhikaraste. All that you want to do what the hell you want to do, but in the action. There you have free will. It's completely yours. Then the second line that we came to was Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. Right? What does that say? You have absolutely no right or you have no control over the fruit of the action. We've seen that also. Right? We studied already in the Karma Demystified series. If you see, there are 5 things that go into making an action. Anybody remembers? In the Karma Demystified series, there were 5 things that we listed. One is Adhishtanam, the body itself, and the field of action. So one is that determines the action, right? The second one is the Karta. I am doing this. Divya is doing it. Somebody else is doing it. So the Karta, who's doing it? The ego that says I am doing it attaches itself to the action. The third thing we saw was Karanam, the instruments. Instruments in the Gita, as explained by Swami Chinmayananda, Shankaracharya, is the bodies of the organs of actions, the organs of perception, the mind and the intellect. But we also, to make it relatable to us, we also said, what do we have to do? What are the resources that we hold to perform these actions? Also very important. Then the fourth, most important thing, we said cheshta, the effort. What do you bring to this action? How are you going to bring it? How are you going to do it? What is going to be your thought process? What is going to be your intention? And the fifth thing, what this line talks about is daivam, right? That X factor, which also involves karma and all of that. Karma is there, choices of others is there, timing is there, so many things. We don't know what is going to determine the outcome. We've given some phenomenal examples in the book. One is of a farmer, and this, I come from a farming family in Maharashtra, and we have a sowing season and we have a reaping season, harvesting season. Now, in the sowing season, we do everything right. Everything. We are sowing on time. We are, plowing properly. We are nurturing. We are fertilizing. We are watering. We are doing all of this year after year. I see my family struggling with this. But then, if the rains don't come on time, which is happening with El Nino or whatever, if the rains come too much, if they come during sowing season, not during harvesting season, is that in our hands? Absolutely not in our hands. Maximum suicides, farmer suicides, other than Punjab, are coming from Maharashtra, and it's heartbreaking. Why? Simply because what was sown could not be reaped. There was no lack of effort. There was full-on effort. Another example we've given in the book, some of you all must be doing it a lot, trading, stock markets, right? You plan everything properly. You make the right investment at the right time. But suddenly someone somewhere decides they want to close a particular strait somewhere. Is that in our hand? Are we dictating that? We are not. So we have to remember, we stick with the first 4 of what makes an action. We stick with the adhishtanam, we stick with the karanam, karta, and we stick with the cheshta. And we let go of that daiva. Okay? For that daivam, many times people have asked, then should we pray at all? Absolutely, you should pray. Miracles happen. Markandeya was destined to die when he was a young boy. Destined. It was written. And at that time, astrology was precise. And yet he went and held on to that Shivalingam and chanted that Mahamrityunjay mantra and literally became a light that even Yama had to withdraw from and couldn't take him. So there is prayer. How effectively we connect to that prayer depends on our own devotion, depends on our own Shraddha. And remember that prayer will not work without the effort. Even Markandeya had to chant it numerous times. There was an effort in that. Even when Dhruva wanted to see Vishnu, he had to do tremendous tapas in the forest. So effort and attitude, very, very important. Then the next line we said, you are not the sole cause of the results. As in, we cannot decide whether we have done this, this is what is going to come to us, or this is what should come to us. Again, you have no right as to how it will come to you, when it will come to you. This you have to absolutely let go of. And this is only possible, which will be explained in the next verse, by an attitude of samatvam, by an inner state of samatva. Okay? We'll see that in the next verse. You cannot have a fixed motive. What the third line is saying, we cannot have a fixed motive to do an action, and we cannot have a fixed obsession about how that action should turn out. Again, so this Swami Chinmayananda actually takes up this verse and nitpicks it. Then you'll say, then should we not expect only anything? Is that possible? You're just simply doing things. Okay, I'll just put my money here. Let whatever happens, happen. I'll just do work like this. Let anything happen, happen. You cannot do that. See, desire is what propels action. Outcome is what keeps you steady on the path. I am working so hard for a particular outcome. I am looking after my children so the children turn out like this. I am doing this so that this happens. Swami Chinmayananda says, all that obsession has to be curtailed to the planning stage. Okay? You sit with a book and with a paper, write all the pros and cons. You do whatever analysis, psychoanalysis, whatever you want to see, you do all of it in the planning. Absolutely have a goal. You have to have a goal. There's no way that you cannot have a goal. How can you say, I don't want a desire? I am working because I want to pay my mortgage. So you do everything in the planning. I will do this. This is what I will get. But once the action itself begins, you have to drop it. You have to drop that obsession. Then you have to rest with the action itself. The most we've written in the book, but I remember as a kid, I was mad about Sachin Tendulkar. I was depressed for 3 months after he got married to Anjali, who was, 5 years older than him. I said, what was wrong with me? Although he didn't even know I exist. But I was that obsessed with him. And I used to sit in front of that TV when he used to play. And now that I think back, or even now when I watch Virat Kohli and all of them playing, they are doing those who actually love the game, those cricketers who are not, see, many cricketers now are in there for that quick money to get a celebrity wife, to become famous. You see that. And it's very, very common to see that. My teacher always says those with the maximum chains and rings and colored hair are for that. They're not there to play. Right? So there are those who think, but there are those who absolutely live. Sunil Gavaskar, Kapil Dev, Virat Kohli, Sachin Tendulkar, they're just there to play the game. Every ball that comes, they hit it with the best of their ability. Right? It's almost like they get into a relationship with that action. Something is coming, they are responding. Something is coming, they are, remember the word, responding, not reacting. Right? So they're playing it. But I've also noticed that even in these greatest players, watch the matches carefully. The minute there is an announcement, he is so close to getting the world record of the fastest century. And this man is at 99. The minute that thought comes, and if he gets it now, then it'll be the fastest, not in the next match. He's out. This is not once, repeatedly this happens. Whenever you're doing something, just mothers will be able to relate to this. Whenever you're just cooking, lost in that cooking, doing fantastic, the dish. Everybody's praising. Oh, wow, it's so good. It's so good. Minute somebody has to come for dinner, that's it. It has to go a certain way. It has to go a certain way. And it'll turn out theek-thak, but you're not happy with it. What's the point? You have stressed over the cooking and you're only not happy with the result. Is there any point in this? Another thing that we were taught in our yoga, when I was doing my Hatha yoga training, what we were taught is even Sister Shivani says this a lot. The energy you bring into an action will very vastly determine the outcome. Very vastly. It's very evident in food, when you're cooking food, but in every action, think about it. You need to ponder on this. And because you've already stressed so much over that action, even when it comes, it's not going to be enjoyment, because that fatigue of the stress that you've put doing it, achieving it, going to be momentary. Anyways, any achievement is momentary. But then to be lost in stress during the action you are not going to be able to enjoy it at all. And even if others say it's okay, you're going to be unhappy. What is the point? Right? So, not on your timeline, not exactly how you want it. But you need to keep yourself very grounded in this truth that whatever you're doing to the best of your ability, please listen to this again and again and again, will have a very positive fruit, will have a positive fruit, not just when you want it and how you want it. That is why even when you look at your life, when you get something completely without effort, suddenly off the bat, how have you got it? Because that fruit from many things that you've done before has suddenly ripened now. You've got it now, right? Whether it's good or it's bad. So keep that in mind. When we understand that fruit is already destined, please stay with the action and do the best that you can. Which brings us to the last line, which says, Mate sangosva karmain, which means just because we're saying don't obsess over the fruit, should we not act at all? Again, please let us reiterate that we are not saying please don't obsess over the fruit. Without the fruit, there is going to be no action for human beings, regular human beings. None of us are gods right now. If we were, our photo would be in the altar and we would be worshipping ourselves. So we are in the process, work in progress, right? So yes, we will have the fruit. Yes, we will want to get there. We will have a particular destination to get there. But because the Gita is saying, don't obsess over it, have it, but don't obsess over it. Please do not get into that point of saying, then why do it only yet? Because as we said, every fruit is resting in the action. So the last line says, please act and act the best you can, the very best that you can bring. And that will come now in verse number 50, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam, which talks about the right action, choosing the right action and doing it with the right attitude and giving it your best. So this verse actually spreads over the next 3 verses. It starts opening up in the next 3 verses. So what have we seen over here? Your choice is in the action and action alone. You have no control over how it's going to turn out. Please do not obsess over one particular outcome on a particular timeline that is not in your hand, that is in Daivam. And finally, what we said was, please don't forget not acting. Don't even get into any half-hearted action. We've given so many examples over here. Suppose if you go with this attitude, you know what, there's so much office politics over here, I might as well not do only anything. What's the point? You not doing anything, is it going to get you the promotion? Doing something will at least have a chance that you will get that promotion. Another most important thing that again Swami Chinmananda lays stress on is action is for purification of yourself, for evolution of yourself. So every action should make you a better person. Suppose if you work very, 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 very hard and at the end of it, you don't get the promotion. Have you seen how much just working has made you skilled? How working has made you understand so many things? How working has made you evolve? So just the action itself is a process of making you a better human being, a more skilled person at your work. So drop the result. It will come, but not on your timeline and not on when you want it. This is actually the fundamental of Karma Yoga. Everything that moves now from here will start from this particular verse. That's why very important to know this verse inside out, and most importantly, to know it by heart. Because every time you're getting caught up in an action, drop it. It's interesting, right? Whoever's watched the movie Dhurandhar 2, the movie begins with Karmanyevadhikaraste, right? Why? Because this guy is going to be a spy in Pakistan. If he doesn't remind himself constantly, stay rooted in the action. Karmanyevadhikar, your action is to correct your wrong and to serve the country. How would he have been able to go through that project? And if you saw, this is real life story, it's not made up. How would he have gone through that entire project? And any project that we have in life. So for 2 reasons, we need this verse to be embedded in my head. Number 1 is for peace of mind, as we will see in the next verse, calmness in mind, which in itself will start making you act better and give out the perfect action. So material. And second thing is, please understand what Krishna has said over the past few verses. Every action, when attached to as a doer, as wanting something out of it, is going to bind you to karma, is going to make you collect more and more karma. And he said, little of karma yoga will free you from the bondage of action. So until you are able to extricate yourself from that and just do what you ought to do fully, beautifully, amazingly, with aligned to dharma, you're on the right path. So there's material success, because no material success can come, no true material success. Bad material success can come anyhow, but true, lasting, which will give you peace, which will not harm each other, which is brownie points on your karmic account, cannot come without staying in the action. And second thing is, when you stay in the action fully, you're not accruing more and more karma. You're executing that action and leaving it be. Okay.
Again, this shloka is probably one of the most important shloka. And I also echo with the fact that we need to definitely by heart this particular shloka. So let's go to the Sanskrit of the shloka. How one should act. What should be the attitude of your action? So if you take a step back and understand the logic here, you cannot skip your action, right? So going to a jungle and renouncing the world is not an option for me. That's what Krishna was establishing. You have to act. But if you act without much thinking, without understanding that yoga buddhi, that very action can bind you. So you need to act, but you need to act in such a way that the action is going to help you to make progress in your day-to-day life as well as the spiritual goals. This is very important. Praninam sakshat abhyudaya nishreyasa hedhu. This is how Shankaracharya defines this dharma. Vividohi vedoktohi dharmaha pravritti lakshano nivritti lakshana sakshat praninam abhyudaya nishreyasa hedhu. This is how the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita Shankaracharya defines. So a pravritti lakshana, the action is inevitable. When the action is inevitable, how do I act? That's where the Karma Yoga comes. The Karma Yoga is not asking you to renounce the fruit. We already established it. The Karma Yoga is not asking you to eliminate your action. The only thing Karma Yoga is teaching us is that you have to act. So what is that Karma Yoga? Very simple. Proper work with proper attitude is what is Karma Yoga. The very definition of the Karma Yoga is proper work with proper attitude. What is proper work? We are going to see that on Shloka 51, Yogaha Karmasu Kaushalam. You have to do only those actions which is not against Dharma. That's it. So you can work and earn your salary, that is in line with Dharma. You can do social services, that is Dharma. Social services alone is not Dharma. Obviously, you can go and work for your salary. That's all fine. But don't do anything which you don't want from others. Atmana pratikulani paresha na samachare. This is the definition of dharma. So that is the proper work. But the biggest point in Karma Yoga is proper attitude. What is that proper attitude we are talking here? There are two attitudes. One is while you perform the action, you have to have certain attitude. And after performing the best, whatever results you get, you have to have a response towards that result. So the attitude we are talking here is, while I perform the action, what should be my attitude? While I get the results after the performance, what is my attitude? And that is what is going to make a simple karma into a karma yoga. And Krishna calls this attitude, the ability to keep that proper attitude, called yoga buddhi. Yoga buddhi. So if you act with that yoga buddhi endowed by the yoga, a karma becomes karma yoga. If I connect the dots back to Shloka 38, Krishna, how he introduces karma yoga is, Esha te pihi ta sankhe buddhir yoge timam shruno. He introduces karma yoga as buddhi yoga because it is an attitude of the mind. If you keep that attitude, the very same cooking you do every day becomes a yoga. The very same work you do at work, it becomes yoga. The walk you do in the treadmill, that become a yoga, isn't it? That is the biggest advantage of Karma Yoga. So this is Karma Yoga. And what should be that attitude? That is the attitude we are going to see in the upcoming shloka. But just to give you a heads up, that is what is the evenness of the mind. Samatvam. That is what is we are calling as yoga. The very next shloka is going to define yoga as samatvam. Think logically. What exactly is the biggest obstacle in performing the action in the best possible manner? Let's say that the very same example Avanti was talking earlier. In a high pressure cricket match, why the batsman gets out? Because his mind is not in that samatva buddhi. isn't it? Is very much anxious or obsessed about the outcome. When you're too much obsessed about the outcome, what is going to happen? Your mind is not available for executing the action to the best possible manner, isn't it? The anxiety and the worries, those are the two factors that preventing you from expressing your best version in the action. And if you don't do your best effort, how can you expect the best result? A student who is over anxious about the result, he or she will not be able to express even whatever he or she knows in the exam. On the other hand, a lazy student also cannot. So, if you really look at the book flow, which we talked about last week, they define a science. How can somebody be in that flow when the anxieties and worries are not holding you? When you are in that inspired mood, that best result is good, isn't it? Every discoveries in the world, every major outcome, it came out of that inspired moment. And how can you create that inspired moment? Is there any scientific formula? The formula is this yoga. When you do that, when you understand that, the control or the choice I have is on the action. And it is directly, I don't have the choice over the results. There are some X factors along with my karma is what is going to produce the result. But if I don't do my best in the action, definitely I won't get the results. So focus on where you have control and then leave the rest. After putting all the effort, if the outcome is something different, accept it gracefully. This is the attitude. And Krishna is going to teach us it is not easy. How do you get out of this anxiety? How do you get out of this disappointment response towards the result? Krishna is going to give you a simple formula which is very powerful. This is the essence of Karma Yoga. If you can keep that attitude, if you can keep your mind free from this worry and anxiety, this karma becomes karma. This is the science of karma. Several examples in the history. Remember the story of Archimedes? We all studied. Archimedes was asked to check whether the material used in the crown is pure gold or not. Otherwise, the king said, I will kill you. Archimedes, the best scientist of that time, he could not figure out because he was too much obsessed, worried, anxious. Suddenly he thought, okay, everything is gone. I'm going to take a dip in my tub. And when he went there, what happened? His mind was a little bit relaxed. Suddenly he forgot about everything else. In that moment, what happened? The results popped up. So if he was too much obsessed even at that point of time, this would not have happened. One more example. Baskin Robbins. Everybody knows. Have you looked at the logo of the Baskin Robbins? How many ice cream? How many varieties of ice cream?
31.
Yeah. So there is if you look at the logo, it is written in a different color. Adrienne Weiss, one of the famous person, was tasked to create this. She tried her best for 2 or 3 weeks, couldn't make a logo at all. She got very disappointed. He said, okay, I'm going to leave it and going to beach. And when I come back, I'll pick it up. During the beach, when she was relaxed, suddenly she realized they have 31 flavors. Why don't I write this? And this became one of the biggest brand in the world. So remember when that creativity happened. One more story. Have you heard of the album Vande Mataram composed by A.R. Rahman? Bharat Bala, the famous director, asked A.R. Rahman to compose it. He couldn't. Like nothing came out. Suddenly he just left it and he was walking in the studio around 3 a.m. in the night. Suddenly this tune came, became a super hit. So Leonardo da Vinci was asked once again to reproduce that smile of Mona Lisa. Forget everything. Even Krishna was asked by Arjuna later point of time. He could, but he wanted to demonstrate this principle. After the Mahabharata, Arjuna asked Krishna, can you repeat what you taught me in the Bhagavad Gita? And that is known as Anugita. And this Anugita is nowhere near to Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna himself admits, I was in an inspired moment. Of course, Krishna can do that. He was just talking about this condition of the mind. So this is very important. And this is the beauty of the Karma Yoga. So the Sanskrit of the Karma Yoga is Karmani evaha adhikaraha tve. The word adhikara used in this particular thing, it means the control or the choice. And ma phaleshu kadajana. Not entirely on the results. Obviously, you have indirect control, but you do not have direct control over the results. Ma karma phala hedurubhuhu. You are not the author of the result. You are the author of the actions. And that actions can produce result. That's a different transitive dependency, not a direct dependency. Then, since you are not the author of the result, if you don't act, nothing is going to happen. This is the 4 sutras in this phrase of karma. Just keep in mind, this is such a beautiful shloka, often misinterpreted and misquoted. So just understand this shloka very well. And one more word, and then I will stop. The word karma yoga is often misinterpreted. A lot of times, if somebody passes away, if that is a hard working person, he is called as a karma yogi. So mere hard work is not going to make a karma a yoga. What makes karma a yoga is the attitude. If your mind is endowed with this yoga buddhi, the karma becomes yoga. And this becomes your means for all the prosperity. It is going to give you the material prosperity and it gives you the spiritual prosperity at the very same time. Okay, let me pause here.
The point of, look up this thing in the woods of God realization. It's a beautiful series of, please write it down. This is something that you should read. It's by Swami Ramatirtha. He's the least known saint of India, but some of the things that he says, and that book, those books, the series of 7, 7 volumes has that particular series. It's next level wisdom and very, very practically he puts it across. So in that, he says a very famous sentence: a way to gain anything is to lose it. A way to gain anything is to lose it. And this brings us so beautifully back to this particular shloka, because you must have noticed in your life also. So we mentioned this book, Secret, remember? That art of manifestation. And they did a whole psychological analysis as to why it was such a hit for a moment and then it completely flopped. It's because this karmanye badhikaraste was not in that. That obsession, yes, you should put your wish out there. Yes, you should want a particular outcome. But once you start working at it, if you don't drop that, it's not going to happen. I'll give you a classic example. It's actually happened with one of my students. For a long, not one, it's happened with a student and it's happened with a friend. For a long time, these people have wanted to conceive. Women, they wanted to conceive. They did everything, the IVF, whatever needed to be done, did everything, obsessed. And if anybody's gone through that, a very close cousin of mine, the process is hard. It takes everything out of you, out of the marriage, out of the couple. Anyways, so they gave it all. Finally, they said, you know what? Both said, it's so funny that both said at different points in time, it's not for us. That Daivam does not will this for us. Thy will be done. And they both, on separate occasions, in separate continents, at separate times in history, decided to go and adopt a child. And I get goosebumps to think they went and adopted a child the very next month for both. It's uncanny. They got pregnant naturally. If you look at it, this is the secret of manifestation. Yes, work hard, but drop the obsession. The way to gain anything is to lose it. Lose that obsession, it will come to you. We give this when we speak to the youth. We give this example all the time. They're obsessing over this girl. I want. They're doing all sorts of antics. We finally say, ignore the girl. Quietly, that girl comes. You see, they've done everything to try and floor this girl and pursue this girl. The minute they say, you know what, I've done my best, I like you, I love you, come if you want, drop it, that girl comes. This can be applied to absolutely all the various aspects of your life. Just think about it. Every time you're obsessing about something, drop it. Don't drop the work. Mate sangosva karmani. Don't drop the work, but drop, it has to happen. Let it happen. My daughter tried this with a dog. All her small childhood, I want a dog, I want a dog, I want a dog, I want a dog. We said no. I said, I can't even take care of a fly beyond both of y'all. Dog is out of the question. She dropped that, and suddenly in COVID, my durbuddhi, we were all sitting at home. My durbuddhi, no, she had forgotten about the dog. Let's get a dog. And she got it. And she said, see, that's how it worked. Karmanye vadhikaraste. I wanted it, I wished it, I put it into your head properly. You got it when you wanted to get it. And at the best time, when all of us are home with the dog. Right? So like this, try and see where you're obsessing, where you're holding back. Drop it and see the miracle. It is a miracle. When you don't want something, it comes to you. But you continue doing the work. So with that, let's go. This shloka is clear, absolutely clear. I think even the last class was recorded. Let's try and put that for those who missed. This is a special shout out to Ranju, who really wanted the shloka to be explained. So I think this should cover it. And it continues through Karma Yoga. This is, please remember again and again, chapter 2 is only the index chapter. It's an overview. He will say all sorts of things, but he expands on them through the next 16 chapters, right to chapter 18. So if you miss something here, don't get frazzled. I keep saying this, I'll say it again. There's a very interesting thing where Krishna says in chapter 7, he says, I will give you, he opens only with that. He says, I will give you wisdom, I will give you knowledge, and I will give you wisdom. And over again, we say, we can only give you knowledge. We cannot give you wisdom. Knowledge is the first part, Shabanam. Wisdom comes from Mananam and Nididhyasana. For us, Nididhyasana does not mean self-realization. It means, Mananam means we're constantly thinking of that knowledge. And Nididhyasana is we put it into practice. Wherever we can, we try and put it into practice. Right? So, why has he said that? And we've said this, that even the greatest teacher cannot, even if they come and say, we'll touch your head and we'll do whatever we have to do. Ramakrishna did touch Vivekananda, but it was momentarily just for him to get out of his scientific mind and believe in this. Right? But after that, he never did it again. Then Vivekananda's story unfolded on its own. So why does Krishna say it? Because what we curse in the Bhagavad Gita, it's so repetitive. He just said that, he's saying the same thing again. First he's saying in passive voice, then he's saying in active voice. It's because it's said in so many angles, from so many different directions. You've got to be moodhamataha, absolute, in sorry words, idiot, not to understand what he's saying, if you're doing it sincerely. Not you, we have to be idiots not to understand. So the same thing, what is said in chapter 2, one word, one idea, one thing will continue to unfold. That's why I say it's a Jenga. Let's build it slowly. Let's not bring in everything into one verse. Let's see how it unfolds. So let's start at least shloka number 48. This is also quite a easy shloka to memorize because it gives 4 distinct lines. Anyways, let's see it together. Shloka 48. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyakva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Underline, asterisk, circle, highlight, samatvam yoga uchyate. Okay. When we look at the word yoga, it has various definitions. Various definitions. Some say hatha yoga, some say pranayama, some say, understanding of the word yoga is huge in the world. It's very diverse and all of them are right. None of them are wrong. None of them are wrong, but you have to see what is the intent behind this word as pertains the Bhagavad Gita. The intent behind the word yoga in the Bhagavad Gita is huge. To yoke, to join. What needs to join with what? Your body, mind, intellect, the material aspects of your being need to merge into Atma. That is the goal of human life. Okay? So we have to remember that whenever we think of yoga in the Bhagavad Gita, he will say it repeatedly, that all this is fine. In fact, he slights it. He says, material gains, yeah, sacrifice a little bit, you will get it. This is hard. Aim for this, right? So yoga is that final union, that final merging, that final point of self-realization that we will experience. So here he says, Samatvam yoga uchyate. Please underline, he's giving one route or one way or one definition towards that yoga. Okay? What is that definition? Let's look at it. So the first line over here is Yogastha Kuru. Let's read the translation. O Dhananjaya, Arjuna. Again, please rest on the words that he's using. Over here, he's used the word Dhananjaya, means winner of wealth. A slight push beneath that, psychological push beneath the word. Easily you win wealth outside. Come on, get out and win this inner state. What you can achieve outside, the inner state is hard, but you are a winner of wealth. And there is no greater wealth, the way Swami Chinmayananda says, or even Shankara says. There's no greater wealth than the wealth of being attuned, or at least closer to the self, right? So he's saying you can do it outside, you can do it inside as well. O Dhananjaya, remaining steadfast in yoga, yogastaha, perform your actions, kuru karmani, by giving up attachment, sangam tyaktva, and maintaining an evenness of mind, samatvam, in success and failure, important, siddha asiddhyo, equanimity, samatvam of the mind is yoga. Yoga uchyate. Okay? So let's look at it as much as we can in the next 5-7 minutes. So first thing, he begins the verse with yogastaha. steadfast in yoga. Now, in this particular context, like I said, the focus has to be on evenness in mind. So the first definition of yoga here is evenness, equanimity, steadiness, that balance, that center point, whatever we do in the beginning of this class, just momentarily to come to that quiet beneath, just to come to that little bit of an equipoise away from the noise. Suppose if there's an ocean, there's lots of turbulence on the top. But if anybody of you all have gone scuba diving, when you go in, the depths that you go into, there's quiet, there's stillness, there's darkness, there's peace. So coming to that point, okay, yogastha, coming to that equanimity is what you need to do. And when he says yogastha, please understand, it's a very tricky thing for us. He's saying you have to already be established in this point to be able to do proper karma yoga. He doesn't begin the verse, do all this and then come to this point. He will give us how to come to this point. But what he's declaring at the outset over here is, when you are yogastaha, when you are established fully in this equanimity of mind, in this equipoise, in the book we've used the word homeostasis of the mind. When you're in this point, you will be able to do proper karma yoga. Everything we've said so far. You'll be able to choose the right action. You'll be able to have the right response. You will be able to do the right thing in the right attitude that gives you material success and spiritual growth. Rajesh ji just said in the past explanation that anything coming out of a perturbed mind is not going to be of any use to us. Anything that comes from stillness is going to be useful to us. There's a very famous tip that is given by all elders. Never make any promises when you are too happy, and never break any relationships when you're too sad. Very useful tip to the youngsters when they jump into, oh, he proposed to me on top of London Bridge. I said yes. You're so happy somebody has proposed to you. Jump in and say yes, right? So remember the statement. Whenever there is a pull of emotions either way, absolute, he continuously talks about raga dvesha, extreme attachment, extreme aversion. Whenever you're in this state of mind, either do not take any action. Choose the emotion, hold the emotion. When they say hold that thought, hold that emotion to propel that action. But in that moment, come to samatvam and then take that action. Are you understanding? Come to the center. Because many times when we do it in the extremes, we don't make the right choice. It is pulled by the mind. Why do we say since childhood we've been told this when we are extremely hyper? Shh, count to 10. What does counting to 10 do? It brings us back to samatvam, right? Why do we say, this is my idea, sleep over it? Why? You're not immediately jumping into the idea. Or you say, okay, it sounds interesting. Let me sleep over it. What does sleeping over it do to us, do for us? Brings us back to samatva. Without that samatvam, forget karma yoga. Any action is not possible to its highest potential. Action is possible, but it's not possible to its highest possibility. I'll end this first word, which is the most important verse, with a very famous quote, which says, I think it was Viktor Frankl who said it, between stimulus and response, something is coming from the world. I am going to put something out into the world. There is a pause. In that pause lies your power. In that pause lies your free will. In that pause will the right action, the right karma yoga emerge. Three things are happening. We call this the traffic of life. Three things are happening in traffic of life. Constant stimulus from the world, constant reaction in the mind and intellect. I receive something, there's a reaction, and there's a response into the world. Correct? What is happening without yoga buddhi or buddhi yoga, whichever way you want to say it is? Stimulus is coming from the world. There is a reaction here. There is an instant reaction into the world. That is why we feel powerless. That is why our actions also don't have anything that comes to us in return properly. Right? So what is this pause? This pause is samatvam. Now what do we have to do? Remember the steps of traffic of life. Stimulus, reaction, response. Stimulus is coming from the world through our organs of sense organs. There is a reaction in your mind and intellect. There has to be a pause after that or during that to be able to now formulate a response into the world, not a reaction. That is samatvam. How you bring yourself to the samatvam, we'll see as the verse goes on. But what Krishna is saying in this very first verse, word, yogastha, is you already have to be established in that state of equanimity for any right action to emerge from you. That is why any good things that we start in life, we start with a puja to try and bring ourselves to that point. Why does every scripture have an invocation? Why do we start every class with a prayer? Because we come with everything. We have to bring ourselves down to that point of equilibrium. Because for anything good to come into us or anything good to go out of us, that samatvam is absolutely necessary. So this itself is a huge chunk to process, Yogastha. Think about it. If there's any questions, ask, and then we will break down the rest of the verse and actually try and finish the next three verses because they all expand on karmanya vadhikaras thing, right? So until we finish this section, we will start each class with chanting that karmanya together. We should get it by heart. Okay. If anybody says you're studying the Gita, they'll say, oh, what about Gita? Fully chant karmanya vadhikaraste. Then they know you've understood the Gita. So master this. Okay. We can close with a prayer quickly. Closing your eyes, taking a deep breath in. Asato ma satkamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. For the newcomers, what this says is, may this knowledge, may what we are doing, may this yoga lead us from untruth to truth, from ignorance to knowledge, and finally from our obsessions with the mortal world to the peace and quiet of the immortal self. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.